The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a jewel. Inside, Rick stood on 6 legs, his insect body reflecting the soft lights. He was older than most beings in the galaxy, 400 years of memory stored in his complex mind. Today he spoke of legends. They called them the Makers, Valak said, his voice translating through the chamber. Systems, beings who built worlds with their bare hands. They shaped metal like clay and spoke to the stars themselves. Then in one terrible moment they vanished. We call it the silence around him. Representatives from a 100 species listened. Some had heard these stories before, others thought they were just myths, ties told to young ones before sleep. But VL believed he had spent his long life studying the ruins the Makers left behind. Namora, a being made of living crystal, chimed softly. I have found their structures on 40 worlds. Buildings that should not stand yet do. Bridges that span impossible distances. And always the same symbols, symbols we cannot read. Fairy tales. Someone muttered nothing more. Valix was about to respond when every alarm in the station began to scream. In the observation deck, a tear opened in space itself. It was not like the normal gates ships used to travel between stars. This was different, wrong. The fabric of reality bent and twisted, and through it came a ship. The vessel was massive, dark metal that seemed to drink in the light around it. Its shape was strange, aggressive, covered in angles that hurt to look at too long. On its side, symbols glowed, the same symbols found in the ancient ruins. Djo stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable, watching the alien station grow larger on the screens. His uniform was simple, dark blue with minimal decoration. He had been a soldier once, fought in wars most of these aliens could not imagine. Now he was a diplomat, though the title felt uncomfortable. All systems steady, Yuzheng reported from the tactical station. The young officer's hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Their weapons are powered down, scanning. Systems are active but non-hostile. Good, Djo said. He turned to the communication officer. Send the prepared message, all languages. The message was simple. Humanity had returned. They came in peace. They wished to talk. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Beings shouted in 100 different languages. Some demanded the station's weapons be activated. Others wanted to run. A few simply stood in shock. Rex felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear and wonder mixed together. Calm. He clicked his translator, struggling to keep up. Calm yourselves. This is history. We are watching history. The human ship did not fire. It did not threaten. It simply waited. Hours later, a smaller vessel detached from the great ship. It crossed the space between them slowly, giving the station plenty of time to track it. The small ship docked and the airlock cycled open. Djo stepped through first. He was not tall, not by galactic standards. His body was soft compared to warrior races without armor or natural weapons. Behind him came 5 others. One carried data devices, her eyes already examining everything around her. The security team moved with quiet efficiency, but their weapons stayed. Holsted. The alien stared. These were the Makers. These small, fragile-looking creatures. I am Djo, he said simply, the translator on his collar worked perfectly, speaking in every language simultaneously. I represent humanity. We have come home. Valix approached carefully, up close. The human was smaller than him. Home. You have been gone for 8,000 years. We thought you were extinct, or gods, or myths. We were none of those things. Dezhou replied, we were survivors, and we remember this galaxy even if it has forgotten us. They moved to a meeting room. Hey. One immediately began interfacing with the station's historical database. Her fingers flew across the holographic displays. What she found made her blood run cold. Dezhou, she said quietly in Korean, not wanting the others to hear yet, look at this. The data showed the last days before the silence, a war that consumed the galaxy, billions dead worlds burned, and at the center humanity fighting against an enemy the records called the Swarm. But that was not what made Huan's hands shake. It was what came after. The galaxy had not just forgotten humanity, it had erased them. Records destroyed, monuments torn down. Even the name of Earth had been removed from star charts. They wanted us gone. She whispered, not just defeated, erased completely. Dezhou nodded slowly. He had suspected as much. The refuge, the hidden cluster of stars where humanity had fled, had been chosen for a reason. They had needed to disappear. In the council chamber, Frick showed the humans recordings of the ancient ruins. Hey, one recognized them immediately. They were human, yes, but from before the silence, from when humanity had been different, younger, more naive. We built those, she confirmed, 8,000 years ago. We reached for the stars. We thought we could be friends with everyone we met. What happened? Namura asked, their crystal body ringing with curiosity. We learned better, Dezhou said simply. On the indomitable, Ijin watched his screens with growing concern. Captain Bio Ra, he said, we have movement, multiple fleet signatures jumping into the system. Bo Ra, a woman who had commanded ships longer than most aliens had been alive, studied the data, identify them. They matched the profiles in the database. Military configuration. Heavy weapons. Yuchin's voice stayed calm, but his hands tightened on the controls. They are powering weapons. How many? 30 ships, destroyer class and above. Boer allowed herself a thin smile. Only 30. They either respect us greatly or understand us not at all. Orders. Captain, defensive posture, shields up. Weapons hot but not locked. Let us see what they want before we show them what we can do. In the meeting room, an alarm sounded softly. Dezhou listened to the message in his earpiece, his expression never changing. When he looked up, his eyes were hard. It seems, he said calmly, that not everyone is happy about our return. Valix clicked in distress. The hegemony, they control the military forces in this sector. They have grown powerful in your absence. How powerful? They command 1,000 worlds. Their fleet numbers in the tens of thousands. Dezhou stood. Then we should return to our ship. I suspect this conversation is about to become more complicated. As the humans moved toward the airlock, Huan paused. She looked at Valix, at Namura, at all the aliens who had studied humanity's myths for so long. You remembered us as shadows, she said softly, legends of beings who could do impossible things. You were not entirely wrong, but you forgot the most important thing about humans. What is that? Valix asked. We remember everything. Every slight, every betrayal, every world that was ours. She smiled, and it was not a kind expression. And we have had 8,000 years to prepare for this moment. The Humans left, the airlock sealed behind them, and across the galaxy on a thousand worlds, other beings began to realize what their instruments were telling them. The humans had not sent one ship, they had sent one ship first. Behind it, hidden in the dark between stars, a fleet waited, and compared to that fleet, the legends had gotten it wrong. Humanity was not shadows, they were the fire that cast them. Bora sat in the captain's chair, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The 30 hegemony ships had formed a wall between the Indomitable and the Council station. Their weapons glowed hot on the sensors, ready to fire. "They are hailing us," the communications officer said. "Put them through." The screen filled with an alien face, 4 eyes, scaled skin, mandibles that clicked when it spoke. Hegemony commander, decorated with symbols of rank and conquest. "Human vessel," the commander said, "you will power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to designated space. Your presence here is unauthorized." The O leaned back in her chair. "Unauthorized by whom? We are in neutral territory, speaking with the Galactic Council. The Council has no authority over military matters. The hegemony maintains order in this galaxy. You will comply." "No," Bora said simply. The commander's mandibles clicked rapidly. Sign of anger. "You dare refuse? You are one ship, we are 30. I counted," Bora replied. "Is that supposed to frighten us?" On the engineering deck, Tammin worked quickly. His prosthetic arm moved with perfect precision, connecting systems that had been dormant during the jump. The arm was old, given to him after an accident in his childhood. It had served him well through a lifetime of engineering. "Defensive grid is online," he reported through the system. "Shield harmonics at maximum. Power cells charge around him." Other engineers worked with the same calm efficiency. They had trained for this. Humanity had spent 8,000 years preparing for the moment they would return to the galaxy. Every scenario had been considered, every possibility planned. "For do you think they will actually attack?" the young engineer asked Tay. Dashman smiled slightly. "They already decided to attack the moment they jumped in with weapons hot. Now they are just looking for an excuse." Deep in the refuge, the hidden cluster humanity had called home for 8 millennia, the story of the silence was taught to every child. It was not a happy story. Humanity had reached the stars full of hope. They had met other races, shared technology, built alliances. They thought they had found paradise. Then the swarm came. No one knew where they originated. They poured out of dark space like a plague, consuming everything. The galaxy burned. Trillions died. Humanity fought alongside their allies, threw everything they had into the war, but their allies betrayed them. One by one, the other races made deals with the swarm. They traded human worlds for their own safety. They sold coordinates to human colonies. They sabotaged human fleets. When humanity realized what was happening, it was almost too late. They took what remained of their civilization, every ship that could fly, every person they could save. And they ran. They found the refuge, a cluster of dead stars and lifeless rocks, and they hid. The galaxy thought humanity had been destroyed. That was intentional. For 8,000 years, humans lived on worlds that tried to kill them. They breathed recycled air. They grew food in underground gardens. Every generation knew hunger, knew hardship, knew loss, but they survived. And they built and they planned. Junio piloted his scout ship through the debris field that surrounded an ancient space station. The station had been human once thousands of years ago. Now, it was a ruin picked clean by scavengers, or so everyone thought. Approaching the marker, Genesio reported. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. He had been flying since he was old enough to reach the pedals. Beginning scan. The scanner pinged once, twice, 3 times. Contact. Junio breathed. Multiple contacts. They are still there, hidden in the debris, camouflaged to look like dead metal. Weapon platforms hung in space. They had been waiting for 8,000 years. Their power cells were still charged, their targeting systems still functional, their weapons still ready. How many? Dura asked over the com. At least 50 in this sector alone, Captain. These things could destroy a fleet. Mark their positions. Do not activate them yet. We wanted to talk before we fight. Understood. Junio sent the data back to the Indomitable, then continued his search. The galaxy was full of human ruins. Most had been looted, destroyed, or forgotten, but not all. Humanity had built things to last. On the council station, Djo met with Velex in private. The old insect had questions, and Djo had decided it was time for some answers. Why did you really leave? Vix asked. The records say you lost the war with the swarm. We lost the war, Djo agreed, but that is not why we left. Then why? Because we realized something terrible. We realized that the other races feared us more than they feared the swarm. They saw what we could do, what we could build, and they were terrified. Velix's antennae twitched. What could you do that was so frightening? Djo was quiet for a moment. We could win, not just survive, but actually defeat the swarm. We had the weapons, the strategies, the will. But to use them would have meant becoming something we did not want to be. What do you mean? The swarm had to be burned out completely, every trace destroyed, no mercy, no prisoners, just extinction. Djo's eyes were distant. We looked at what we would have to become to win that war, and we realized our allies would be right to fear us. So you left, so we left. We took the people who still believed in mercy, in restraint, in being something better than weapons. We hid ourselves away. We let the galaxy think we were dead, and the swarm, they disappeared 3,000 years ago, according to the records we have accessed. Either someone else destroyed them or they moved on to easier prey. Varix clicked thoughtfully. The galaxy has changed much in your absence. The hegemony rose from the ashes of the war. They rule through force, but they keep order. We have noticed they seem very interested in preventing our return. Can you blame them? You are a threat to their power. Djo smiled. We are a threat to everyone's power. That is what happens when myths become real. Back on the Indomitable, Yun detected new movement. More ships were jumping into the system, dozens, then hundreds. Captain, he said urgently, we have a problem. The hegemony is bringing in reinforcements. The Biora studied the tactical display. The numbers kept climbing. They are assembling a fleet here now. They must be terrified. Tammin commented over the com to react this quickly with this much force. Should we jump out? Ijun asked. No, Bora said firmly. We run now and they will hunt us forever. We stay. We show them who we are. Captain, there are over 200 ships now, more arriving every minute. Let them come. Send a message to the fleet. Tell Admiral Sanghun we may need him sooner than planned. deep in the dark. Between stars, 6 human warships received the message. They had been waiting hidden, ready to support the indomitable if needed. Admiral San Hun read the report and allowed himself a cold smile. Begin jump calculations, he ordered. Target the council station. If they want to see what humanity has become, we should not disappoint them. On the council station, alarms began to sound again. Varex rushed to the observation deck, Dejo following calmly behind him. In the space beyond the station, a hegemony battle fleet assembled, 300 ships now with more coming, enough firepower to sterilize a world. They're going to attack Valak, said his translator, barely keeping up with his rapid clicking. They will destroy the Indomitable and maybe this station too, if we stand in their way. They will try, Dejo agreed. He seemed completely unconcerned. You do not understand, that is a battle fleet. Your single ship cannot survive. You are right, Dejo said. I do not understand. I do not understand how you could look at humanity's history, at what we built, at the legends you tell yourselves, and think we would send just one ship to announce our return. He pointed at the viewing screen. Watch, you wanted to see the makers. You wanted to know if the legends were true. Now you will learn. Space tore open in 6 different places. Through each tier came a ship that made the Indomitable look small, human warships bristling with weapons that had never been seen before in this galaxy. They moved with terrible grace, taking up positions around the station. On every hegemony ship, alarms screamed. Their sensors went mad trying to calculate the threat. Their commanders shouted orders, their weapons locked on target, but they did not fire because, in that moment, every military mind in the hegemony fleet realized the same thing. They had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Sang Hun's voice broadcast across all frequencies, calm and cold. This is Admiral Sang Hun of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. You have surrounded our diplomatic vessel with hostile intent. You have 3 minutes to withdraw, or we will withdraw you. Choose carefully. Humanity is patient, but we remember everything and we pay back debts in full. Dejo turned to Vlex. Now, he said softly, shall we continue our conversation, or would you like to watch your first human naval engagement? I promise it will be educational. The 3 minutes passed in silence. On the observation deck, beings from 100 worlds watched the standoff. 7 human ships against 300 hegemony vessels. The mathematics seemed simple, the outcome certain. Then the hegemony fleet opened fire. The space between the ships filled with energy weapons, missiles, plasma torpedoes, enough firepower to crack Moon, all of it focused on the 7 human vessels. Yikian's hands moved across his controls, shields holding at 98%. Point defense systems engaging, all incoming ordnance neutralized. On the screens, the incoming weapons simply vanished. Some were shot down by defensive lasers too fast for organic eyes to track. Others hit barriers of force and ceased to exist. Not one reach. The human ships returned fire, ordered calmly. Precision strikes. Disable only. We are not here to commit genocide. The Indomitable's weapons spoke. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. No bright beams of energy, no missiles trailing fire. Just points in space where reality bent, twisted and broke. A hegemony destroyer simply stopped. Every system went dark. The crew was alive, but their ship was now just a metal box floating in space. Dodge. Another ship began to spin uncontrollably as it's maneuvering. Thrusters fired randomly. A third watched in horror as its weapon systems rewrote themselves, targeting protocols corrupted beyond repair. What are they doing? Valix whispered, showing restraint. Dejou replied, if we wanted them dead, they would be vapor. Hegemony commander screamed, orders. Full offensive, all ships maximum firepower, destroy them. But panic had set in. The neat battle formation broke apart. Ships collided. Orders went unheard. The discipline that held the hegemony together crumbled in the face of an enemy they could not hurt. Dutsu Dashjin stood in the Marine Bay, watching the tactical feed. She commanded 200 Marines, the best humanity had trained. They wore armor that made them look bigger than they were, but still small compared to many of the galaxy's warrior races. That was fine. Humans had never been the biggest or the strongest or the fastest. They were just the most stubborn. Orders coming in. Her second reported hegemony cruiser disabled at coordinates 773. Crew intact. We are to board and secure. Sujin smiled. Gear up. Let us say hello properly. The boarding craft launched. Small and fast, they dodged the chaos of the battle, heading straight for the disabled cruiser. The hegemon ship's crew had managed to get emergency power back, but their weapons remained offline. They watched on internal cameras as the human craft clamped onto their hull. They heard the cutting torches burning through armor. They raised whatever weapons they could find. The airlock blew open, smoke poured in, and through it came the humans. Sujin moved first, her rifle up and ready. The weapon was compact, efficient. The hegemony soldiers were twice her size, armored and armed. They opened fire. The human Marines moved like water flowing through the corridor. Their armor absorbed shots that should have killed them. They returned fire with precise, controlled bursts, not to kill but to disable, shots to limbs, to joints, to weapons. In 30 seconds, the corridor was secured. The hegemony soldiers lay wounded but alive, their weapons scattered. Secure the bridge. Sujin ordered. Medical team, treat the wounded, all of them, ours and theirs. Kyungi moved through the wounded hegemony soldiers with practice deficiency. She was a doctor first, a soldier second. The alien stared at her with 4 eyes full of pain and confusion. Hold still, she said, her translator working perfectly. This will sting. She worked quickly, sealing wounds, setting broken bones, administering medicine. The hegemony soldiers did not understand. They had attacked. They had lost. They should be killed or enslaved. That was how war worked. Instead, this small human was saving their lives. Why? One of them rasped. Why help us? Kyungi looked up. Because you are hurt. That is reason enough. On the bridge of the cruiser, Jin found the captain. He was a massive being, armored scales covering his body, hands that could crush stone. He stared at the human Marine commander with hatred and fear. Kill me and be done with it, he growled. We are not here to kill you, Sujin replied. We are here to talk. You attacked my ship. You attacked our diplomatic vessel. We responded. You are alive. Your crew is alive. That should tell you something. The captain's eyes narrowed. What do you want? Information. You mobilized a fleet very quickly. Someone gave orders. Someone was afraid enough of humanity's return to risk open. Warfare with an unknown force. Who, they? Captain said nothing. Datsujina, I do not have time for bravery. We will review your ship's logs. We will decrypt your communications. We will find out anyway. You can cooperate and spare yourself some pain. Or you can be difficult. Choose. In a secure room deeper in the ship, He and Wu worked on the ship's computer systems. The hegemony used quantum encryption. Very sophisticated, it would have taken most species decades to break, got high. And Wu broke it in 40 minutes. Got it, he said over the forward. Into command, the data flowed back to the Indomitable. Yun processed it, his face growing darker with each file he opened. Captain, he said quietly. You need to see this. Bora read the reports. Her hands tightened on her chair's armrests. Get Admiral Sang on the line and wake up the council. They need to hear this too. An hour later, the battle was over, not because the hegemony fleet was destroyed, but because they surrendered. 50 ships disabled, 0 casualties on the human side, minimal deaths on the hegemony side. The rest of the fleet retreated, jumping away to regroup and reconsider. In the council chamber, every representative gathered. They had watched the battle on screens. Watch 7 human ships defeat 300 without breaking a sweat. The myths were not myths, the legends were true. Dezhou stood before them, a data pad in his hand. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard as stone. We have reviewed the communications we captured. The hegemony attacked because they knew we were coming. They have been tracking us for months, and they panicked because of what they found. He activated the pad. Images filled the air above them. Ships. Human ships, but old, ancient, drifting through deep space. These are sea ships, Dezhou said. Generation vessels launched 8,000 years ago. During the silence, not all humans made it to the refuge. Some fled in every direction, hoping to find safety. These ships have been traveling through the void ever since. The council members stared at the images. The ships were massive, city-sized, and according to the data, some still had power, still had life support. The hegemony found 3 of these ships in the last decade. Dezhou continued. They boarded them. They found humans inside in stasis. Descendants of the original crew kept frozen and alive by automated systems. V licked urgently. Where are these people? Now Dezhou's expression could have frozen stars. The hegemony took them, experimented on them, studied them, tried to understand how humanity could build such things. They have a facility. Hidden secret. This is an outrage. Nemura chimed, their crystal body ringing with anger. The hegemony claimed those ships were derelicts. They said they found only corpses. They lied. Dezhou said simply, and now we want our people back. Bara stood on her bridge, watching as Admiral Sanghan's task force prepared to move. 6 warships plus the Indomitable, supported by a fleet of smaller vessels, all heading for one destination. Coordinates locked in, Eugen reported. The facility is in the outer rim. Heavily defended. How heavily? Orbital platforms, shield generators, a garrison. Fleet of at least 80 ships, though I smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Only 80. They must not value what they stole very much. Orders. Captain, we jump in 5 minutes. When we arrive, we do not wait for them to surrender. We do not negotiate. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we get our people Out, Sujin gathered her Marines. They had a new mission now, not disable, not capture, rescue. Listen up, she said. We have people in that facility, our people. They have been prisoners for years, maybe decades. The hegemony has been hurting them, studying them, treating them like lab animals. Marines' faces grew hard. They were professionals trained to follow orders and maintain discipline, but they were also human, and humans protected their own. We go in fast, we secure the prisoners, we get them out. Anyone who gets in our way gets moved. Anyone who tries to hurt our people gets put down. Am I clear? Yes, Commander. The fleet jumped. Space tore open and swallowed them, and in a secret facility on the edge of hegemony space, alarms began to scream. The staff looked at their sensors and could not believe what they saw. 7 warships appearing from nothing, and they were not slowing down. In the facility's medical bay, humans lay in containment cells. Some were conscious, strapped to tables while alien scientists studied them. Others floated in tanks, their bodies showing signs of surgical alterations. All of them had been there for years. They heard the alarms, they felt the station shake as weapons fire struck the shields, and they heard something else. The sound of human voices coming closer. Find them, Sujin shouted, leading her Marines through the corridors, every room, every cell. Leave no one behind. They found the first prisoner in a cell barely big enough to stand, a young woman, thin and weak but alive. Her eyes went wide when she saw the Marines. Admiral Sang Hyun watched the battle unfold from the bridge of his flagship. The Perseverance, the hegemony garrison fleet had responded quickly. 80 ships moving to intercept. They formed defensive positions around the research facility, overlapping fields of fire. That should have made any attack impossible. Should have. All ships execute pattern Delta 7, Sang Hun ordered. His voice was calm, measured. He had been fighting battles since before most of his crew were born. Precision strikes on shield generators only. We need that facility intact. The human warships moved in perfect coordination. They did not charge in recklessly. They did not waste ammunition on displays of force. They simply identified their targets and removed them with surgical precision. The hegemony fleet tried to respond, but they were fighting an enemy that moved faster, shot straighter, and thought 3 steps ahead of them. Within minutes, the shield generators protecting the facility went dark. Shields down, Young reported, launching boarding craft. Sujin's Marines hit the facility like a hammer. They breached through multiple entry points simultaneously, overwhelming the defenders through speed and surprise. The hegemony guards were well trained, but they had never faced humans in close combat before. It was educational and brief. Sector 3 secured. 1 team reported, we have prisoners. 17 humans, various states of health. Medical team is with them now. Sector 5 secured. 23 prisoners. Some are in bad shape. They need immediate evacuation. Sector 7, Commander, you need to see this. Sujin moved through the corridor, her rifle ready. She reached Sector 7 and understood why her Marines had called her. The room was filled with tanks, dozens of them. Each one contained a human in suspended animation, but these were not prisoners in the traditional sense. They had been altered, modified, experimented on. Get me down here, Sujin said quietly. Now. The medical officer arrived within Minutes, she moved from tank to tank. Her scanner working overtime, her face grew progressively more angry with each reading. They have been trying to replicate human abilities, she said, her voice tight with controlled rage. Neural augmentation, genetic modification. They wanted to understand what makes us different. Are they alive? Yes, but some of these modifications, they cannot be easily reversed. We will need specialized facilities. Can they be moved? They have to be. This place is not safe for them. Sujin nodded. Get them ready for transport, all of them. I do not care how difficult it is. No one gets left behind. On the Perseverance, Sang Hun received the reports from the facility. His face remained neutral, but his eyes showed the anger he felt. He opened a channel to all human ships and to the Council Station, which was monitoring the operation. This is Admiral Sang Hun. We have secured the Hegemony Research Facility. We have recovered 147 human prisoners. The evidence we have found here is damning. The Hegemony has been conducting illegal experiments on sentient beings. Torture, vivisection, genetic manipulation without consent. He paused, letting the words sink in. I am broadcasting this on all frequencies. Every species in this galaxy needs to know what the Hegemony has done, and they need to decide where they stand. The broadcast went out on 1,000 worlds. Beings watched the footage from the facility. They saw the cells, the laboratories, the humans who had been trapped there for years, and they saw evidence of something else. The Hegemony had not just experimented on humans, they had used similar techniques on other species. Anyone who opposed them, anyone who knew too much, anyone who was convenient, the galaxy reacted. On the core worlds of the Hegemony, riots broke out. Species that had been subject people suddenly found courage. They had seen humans fight the Hegemony and win. If humanity could resist, maybe they could too. In the council chambers, representatives from 24 species formally withdrew their support for the Hegemony. Some declared neutrality, others went further, offering to support humanity in their fight. Velik watched it all happen with a mixture of awe and terror. In less than a week, humanity had returned and shattered the galactic order. The Hegemony, which had ruled for millennia, was collapsing. You planned this, he said to Dezhou. All of it? No, Dezhou replied. We plan to return peacefully, to negotiate, to find our place in the galaxy again. The Hegemony chose violence. They revealed their crimes. We simply responded. You forced them to attack you. We gave them a choice. They made it. Unjai arrived at the council station 3 days after the facility raid. She was a civilian representative sent to handle the political aftermath of military action. She was good at her job, which meant she told uncomfortable truths. The galaxy is fracturing, she told the assembled council. The Hegemony is losing control. Without leadership, there will be chaos, wars, suffering. Are you suggesting we should support the Hegemony? Namura asked, incredulous. No, I am suggesting we need to build something better. Yunji pulled up maps showing the current political situation. 16 species have declared independence. 8 more are on the verge. The Hegemony still controls the core sectors, but their grip is weakening. What does humanity want? Vex asked. We want peace. We want stability. We want a galaxy where species are not experimented on, where treaties mean something where strength is used to protect, not oppress, a noble dream, but how do you achieve it? Yunji smiled. By showing that it is possible. We are offering an alliance. Any species that wants to join can do so. Equal partners, equal voices, mutual defense. And if the hegemony attacks those who join you, then they will learn what happens when you threaten humanity's allies. Jay Hyan led a team of specialists deep into hegemony space. They were special operations trained for missions that officially did not exist. Their target was a hegemony intelligence center, heavily fortified and supposedly impenetrable. They penetrated in 4 hours. Data secured, Jay Hyan reported. Downloading everything. What they found was worse than expected. The hegemony had not just found 3 siege ships. They had found 12. 9 of them had been destroyed, their contents cataloged and discarded. The survivors had been taken to different facilities. There are more prisons. Jayan said at least 6 that we can confirm, maybe more. The Or received the report and immediately forwarded it to Sang Hun. We need to hit them all simultaneously. Agreed, the admiral replied, but we do not have enough ships. We need allies. That was when the call came in, not from one species, but from 20 ships were being offered. Marines support vessels. Species that had been oppressed by the hegemony wanted to help free the human prisoners. They see themselves in you. Valix explained to Dezhou, you were powerful once, then hunted and enslaved. Now you have returned and broken your chains. They want to do the same. We did not return for vengeance, Dezhou said. Perhaps not, but vengeance has found you. Anyway, the combined fleet assembled. Human warships at the core, surrounded by vessels from a dozen species. Some were military, others were civilian craft, hastily armed. All of them were committed. Du Sang Hun addressed them all. We go to free prisoners, human prisoners, yes. But the hegemony has likely imprisoned others as well. We save everyone. We leave no one behind. This is not conquest. This is rescue. Remember that. The fleet jumped to 6 different locations simultaneously. At each one they found another hidden facility. At each one they found prisoners, humans and others locked away and experimented on. The battles were fierce but short. The hegemony forces were outnumbered, outgunned and demoralized. They had thought themselves unbeatable. The humans had proven them wrong. Kaiwayang Dashmi worked for 72 hours straight treating rescued prisoners. Most were humans from the siege ships, descendants of people who had fled during the silence. They spoke old dialects, used old words. They had been asleep for millennia only to wake up in nightmares. How many did we save? She asked Sujin. 834 humans, 270 beings from other species, and we found something else. What records? The hegemony kept detailed logs of everything they did, every experiment, every death, every crime. We have it all. Sujin's face was grim. Evidence for trials. You think there will be trials? If we want to be better than them, there have to be. On the council station, Dezhou prepared for the next meeting. He knew what was coming. The hegemony was collapsing, but they still had military power. They still controlled the core worlds, and cornered animals were dangerous. EU Angie joined him. Representatives want to know what our intentions are. Will we pursue the hegemony? Will we try to conquer their territory? We will pursue justice. Dezhou said, for our people, for all the people. They have hurt, but we will not conquer. We did not spend 8,000 years learning to be better just to become tyrants. They are afraid you are lying that you will turn on them once the hegemony is defeated. Let them be afraid. Fear is honest. It means they understand we could hurt them if we chose to. That is not reassuring. It is not meant to be. We want partners, not servants. Partners need to respect each other. Respect includes a healthy understanding of consequences. The meeting began. Representatives from 50 species gathered. Some supported humanity, some were neutral, a few still sided with the hegemony. The hegemony struck 6 months later. They had regrouped, consolidated their forces, and prepared for total war. 2,000 ships jumped into neutral space, targeting the colony world of Terra Nova, humanity's first settlement outside the refuge. The message was clear: if humans wanted to return to the galaxy, they would have to fight for every world. On Terra Nova, alarms sounded across the planet. The colony was only 3 months old, home to 50,000 humans and 10,000 aliens from coalition species. They were farmers, engineers, teachers, not soldiers, but they knew soldiers were coming. Djo stood in the command center, watching the tactical displays. The hegemony fleet was massive, overwhelming. Terra Nova's orbital defenses were strong, but not strong enough for this. How long until Admiral Sang-Hyun arrives? He asked. 4 hours. Jin replied. He was on the ground now, coordinating the defense. The fleet is jumping as fast as they can, but we are spread across 6 sectors. Can we hold for 4 hours? We will have to. In orbit, automated defense platforms came online. Missiles launched, energy weapons charge. The first wave of hegemony ships hit the outer defenses and began to die, but they kept coming. Dua Aura commanded the small fleet defending Terra Nova, 5 human warships and 20 coalition vessels against 2,000. The math was impossible. All ships, she said calmly. Defensive formation Delta 9. Focus fire on capital ships. We take out their heaviest hitters first. The battle joined, space filled with weapons fire. The coalition ships fought with desperate courage, but they were outmatched. One by one they began to fall. We have breaches on deck 7 and 9. Tammin reported from the Indomitable. His prosthetic arm worked frantically to reroute power. Shield generators at 40%. We cannot take much more of this. Hold position. Boarded. We do not run on the surface. Sujin organized the evacuation of civilians. Transport ships lifted off, heading for shelters deep underground. But there was not enough time. Not enough ships. Commander, one of her Marines said, if the orbital defense fails, they will bombard the planet. Then the orbital defense will not fail. In the sky above, human and coalition ships died, but they made the hegemony pay for every meter of space. Automated platforms fought until their ammunition ran dry, then rammed enemy ships. Pilots ejected at the last moment, hoping for rescue. The hegemony had expected easy victory. Instead, they found themselves grinding through defenses that should not have held this long. Admiral Sang-Hyun received constant updates as his fleet raced toward Terra Nova. 700 coalition ships, the largest fleet humanity had assembled since the silence. But would they arrive in time? Push the engines, he ordered. I do not care about safety margins. Get us there. Beside him, Yoonji worked on a different problem. She had been broadcasting to every species in the galaxy, showing them the battle, show them what the hegemony was willing to do. We asked for peace, she said into the camera. We offered alliance. The hegemony responded with genocide. Remember this, remember who chose violence on Terra Nova. The sky burned. Debris from destroyed ships rained down, leaving trails of fire, but the evacuation continued every minute. Bought was another 100 lives saved. Dot in the command center, alarm. Screamed, they are breaking through. Someone shouted, hegemony ships entering. Atmosphere, Joe made a decision. Activate the platforms, sir. Those platforms are 8,000 years old. We do not know if they work, then we will find out. Activate them now, around Terra Nova, in debris fields and hidden in asteroid clusters. The ancient weapons woke up. Junio had found them months ago, left behind when humanity first colonized this system millennia ago. Everyone had assumed they were dead. They were not dead. They had been waiting. Platforms did not look impressive, just metal and composite materials scarred by time. But when they activated, space itself seemed to bend around them. The hegemony ships entering the atmosphere suddenly found themselves targeted by weapons they could not understand. Reality twisted, probability calculations failed. Ships that should have continued forward instead found themselves scattered across the system, disoriented and helpless. What is that? A hegemony commander screamed. What are they doing to us? Jay Hayan watched from a stealth ship, his team recording everything. Those Clear's throat are probability manipulators. They chain the odds, make impossible things happen, make certain things uncertain. That is not possible. Tell that to the hegemony ships. The ancient platforms continued their work. They did not destroy ships directly. They simply made it very unlikely that those ships would succeed at anything. Navigation failed, weapons misfired, life support malfunctioned. The hegemony fleet began to dissolve into chaos. Admiral Sanning Hoon's fleet arrived 4 hours after the battle began. They jumped in ready to fight a desperate defense. Instead, they found the hegemony fleet in disarray, harassed by ancient weapons and defending coalition forces. All ships. Sang Hun ordered, hammer formation. We end this now. 700 fresh ships hit the hegemony fleet flank. The battle turned. In minutes, hegemony commanders, already demoralized and confused, saw the human reinforcements and lost their nerve. The order to retreat rippled through their ranks. Ships jumped away, abandoning their fellows. Within an hour, what remained of the hegemony fleet was running for home. On Terra Nova, people emerged from shelters to see the sky clearing. They had survived. Barely, but they had survived. Datsujin walked through the streets checking on her Marines. They had held the line. They had protected the civilians, and only 37 had died doing it. Only 37. It felt like too many. Duty found her staring at the memorial wall where names were being added. We saved 49,963 people, the doctor said quietly. Those 37 gave their lives so the rest could live. I know the math. It does not make it easier. It is not supposed to be easy. If it was, we would be no better than the hegemony. The victory at Terra Nova changed everything. The hegemony had thrown their largest fleet at a human colony and been defeated. The galaxy watched and learned. Within weeks, 10 more species joined the coalition, then 20, then 50. The Hegemony's grip on the outer sectors collapsed entirely, but they still held the core worlds, and they were preparing for something. He and Wu working in intelligence noticed the pattern first. They are pulling back, concentrating their forces around a single system. Which one? Dezhou asked. The coordinates match an ancient location in our database. We called it the Heart once. It was supposed to be humanity's capital. 8,000 years ago, they are making a stand there. More than that, the energy signatures suggest they are activating something big. Sang Hun reviewed the data and then felt cold dread. They found one of ours, an old weapon from before the silence. What kind of weapon? The kind we built when we thought we could win through force alone, the kind we buried and tried to forget. The coalition fleet assembled. This would be the final battle. Everyone knew it. The hegemony had staked everything on this defense. If they lost here, their civilization ended. EUNI argued for one last attempt at negotiation. We could offer terms. Let them surrender with dignity. Avoid more bloodshed. They activated a doomsday weapon. Sang Hun said flatly. They have gone past the point of negotiation. Then what? We destroy them completely. We give them one chance. One. If they refuse, then yes, we end this. The fleet jumped to the heart. What they found waiting was terrifying. The hegemony had assembled every remaining ship. 3,000 vessels arrayed around a massive station, and at the center of that station, an ancient human weapon pulsed. With stolen power, Dezhou broadcast on all frequencies. Hegemony leadership, you have activated a weapon you do not understand. Power it down. Surrender. We will treat you fairly. The response was immediate. You abandoned this galaxy. You left us to the swarm. We survived. We built order from chaos. We will not let you tear it down. That weapon will destroy everything within 10 light years, including you. Then we all die together. Better that than submission to returned ghosts. Sang Hun closed his eyes. They had hoped it would not come to this, but humans had learned long ago that hope was not a strategy. All ships, he ordered, execute Omega Protocol. The coalition fleet scattered, moving to precise coordinates around the system. They were not attacking, they were positioning. The hegemony laughed. You run, you fear our weapon. No, Bora said quietly from the indomitable. We fear what we are about to do. All around the system, human ships activated their most closely guarded technology, not weapons generators. They created a field, a bubble of altered space that surrounded the heart completely. Inside the bubble, physics worked differently, slightly subtly, just enough. The ancient weapon tried to fire. Its systems reached critical energy, built to levels that should have ripped space apart, and then it simply stopped. The improbability field made success impossible. The weapon calculated its firing solution and found that every possible outcome led to malfunction. It shut itself down rather than risk destroying itself. The hegemony fleet realized what had happened. They had been neutralized without a shot being fired. Their ultimate weapon, their last hope, was useless. This is your last warning, Dezhou said. Surrender now.